Good night. It's time for Straight Up, right? Spread the word, share the link, and let folks know that we are on.
Basement level vibes with another one, straight up blackness. Aye, who tell the truth? Mark Benskop, defend the ghetto youth. Mark Benskop, radio station is the fruit. Mark Benskop, straight up from the root. Mark Benskop, who tell the truth? Mark Benskop, defend the ghetto youth. Mark Benskop, radio station is the fruit. Mark Benskop, straight up from the root. Mark Benskop, I do it for the love, him not do it for no money. Straight up, him attack, educating everybody. Big up my friends and big up my family. Turn on the radio, catch the vibes, it's integrity. Straight up, Benskop stands for unity. One people, one nation, one destiny. Free up the truth in the air, even the blind can see. The deaf can hear, the dumb can talk, the cripple can walk. Boom. Who tell the truth? Mark Benskop, defend the ghetto youth. Mark Benskop, radio station is the fruit. Mark Benskop, straight up from the root. Mark Benskop, who tell the truth? Mark Benskop, defend the ghetto youth. Mark Benskop, radio station is the fruit. Mark Benskop, straight up from the root. Mark Benskop, we have to gather wrong, grab a seat and sit down, pay attention, education, liberation, we have to stand strong. Benskop upon the radio, lively up the program. Everybody call somebody and let them turn and tune and pon the radio and catch the boom song. We boom it up already, we have to boom it up again. Expose and reveal him. Who tell the truth? Mark Benskop, defend the ghetto youth. Mark Benskop, radio station is the fruit. Mark Benskop, straight up from the root. Mark Benskop, who tell the truth? Mark Benskop.
When I come up, I call me Dolari, and I ask her for us to get married. So she said, let me go and I she found me. But let me reach me so hard for me. How are you going to do with a job and divide? How are you going to do it now? In a bed, you go here, the market. But you don't want it to rap. You not even the why you got to do it up. You not even the why you got to do it up. Pero Larry, the son and the Chipoti, Yanalano, Jamari, Ajatri, Mina gave on the head to say about it. I know tomorrow, we go marry. How are you? But no, we don't jam and fight. How are you? But no, we don't. In a bed, go in the market. But you do money, do ram. You not get the why you got to do the jam. You not get the why you got to do the jam.
So, this is Attorney Shelley Washington, owner and founder of the Washington Law Firm, located at 455 Utica Avenue in Brooklyn, New York. We're specialized in medical malpractice, personal injuries, matrimonial law, and landlord and tenant. If you're in need of legal representation, please give us a call today. The number to call is 718-877-3100. Consultation is free at no cost to you. So call us today to see if we can be of any assistance to your legal needs. Again, the phone number to call us is 718-877-3100.
Yeah, my name is Jacinty Caldata Francis Vietnam, and since 1965 I become a voter, and I always place my ex next to the cup. And what they are doing today, I can't take it. So I have no more vote to give to PPP anymore. I'm not going to vote anymore no more. If they have to lose by one vote, they're losing it by data.
All right, good evening. My name is Mark Benchap. Welcome to Straight Up. We're going to rock and roll for just about an hour. In a few minutes' time, we will be joined by Attorney at Law Shellen Washington, and we will cruise through until 10 o'clock. Look, lots of things happening. You know, you heard Shanta. Shanta says, here, guess what? If the PPP has to lose by one vote, it's got to be by Shanta. But let me say this to you guys. There are many more, thousands upon thousands of people who voted for the PPP are fed up of the PPP. They're just tired with those guys in the PPP. The PPP, Irfan Ali, Jack Dave, they do absolutely nothing for the people. Every day is frustration upon frustration upon frustration throughout the length and breadth of Guyana. And so the people want a change, not just a change to say to kick these vagabonds out of office, a real change. And in 2025, we're hoping and keeping our fingers crossed. Based on the evidence that we see every single day, we are convinced that the people of Guyana, all of the people, do need that change. The only set of people who may not want that change are the people, the corrupt individuals, those who are getting the billion-dollar contracts, those corrupt individuals, those individuals who are not qualified, those who are sending tons and tons of cocaine out of the country. Those are the individuals who are getting hundreds of millions of dollars of concessions. Those who are not paying their rates and taxes at City Hall sorry about that. For a moment, I thought I was from Belladrum, right? Good evening to the folks at Belladrum. And the people who owe hundreds of millions of dollars in rates and taxes, whether in Georgetown or wherever. Those are the corrupt individuals who are comfortable with this corrupt, racist PPP regime. Look, we just came right off and we decided to start right away. We're not waiting for crowd to build up. We know it's going to build up eventually as you share the link. Lots and lots of things are happening in that country. It's very, very sad. But yet every day, Irfan Ali and all these vagabonds in the PPP, they make it appear as though it's progress in the country. Some very thin roads built, they break up 1 week after, 2 weeks after it's done with. Some lagu bagus who don't have any experience, no qualifications, whatever. They're given almost $1 billion contract to build this and to build that. It's just massive corruption that's going on in the country. You tell me a bicycle thief, a guy who was just basically selling loose cigarettes and Tamron Ball or whatever else, Fronto on Freedom, Rob Street, suddenly has access to hundreds of millions of dollars in contracts. That by itself is corruption, massive corruption. Look, even if you give me $1 billion Guyana dollars right now to say that I'm going to go and build some pump station, what do I know about that? Right? That's not my area. But with the PPP, they're not concerned about that. They're grabbing everybody and any whiskey or sakawinki out of the zoo and just give them contracts just like that. Because they know if they grab a sakawinki out of the zoo, give that sakawinki a contract, close to $1 billion worth of contract. Don't think that all that money belongs to the sakawinki. You know, the sakawinki is the front man for the man who sit at the back. And oftentimes we know who the man is that always likes to position himself right behind. We know who that individual is because they derived all manner of profits and sweetness from allowing the front men to go ahead and sit down at the back, the rear. And so don't for a moment think that the sakawinki is the one who got that contract. Don't for a moment think that that is the case. But this is where citizens should be out in their numbers, protesting against these things. Obvious corruption every single day we see it, and everybody just quiet. Everybody seems to be happy. Some think that just writing a letter, put it in a newspaper, or waiting for a reporter to call to give a quick comment and be quoted in the Stabroek News or the Kaitra News, or especially the Village Voice, all of them rushing to the Village Voice now. And let me say good evening to the hardworking folks at the Village Voice. Good evening to all of you. Hey, speaking of that, the Guyana girls team, right? They're off, I believe, in Singapore, competing the robotics team. They're out there in Singapore. They're representing Guyana, Guyana, something like a Venezuelan there, right? And so they are representing their country, and we've got to, once this show is over, just go right ahead and see what these young ladies are up to. They are repping Guyana. They're not, stealing from Guyana like these corrupt individuals. They're repping Guyana, and this is what we want to see. Thousands of people should have already viewed what the girls who are part of the STEM Guyana robotics team doing, but no, many people are gonna waste their energy and their time on Major Hype. What Major Hype said. Major Hype doesn't even understand geography and all these different things. Major Hype is a comedian. What else y'all expect? A comedian. But these days, comedians, gangsters, and all kind of thing becoming presidents. You have a comedian in Ukraine. He became the president of Ukraine. Guyana has a comic has a so-called president right now. So the U.S. had a comic as president, trying to run back again as president. I don't know, but anyways, hey, good evening to all of you. What else is happening? What else is happening in Guyana? The PPP regime is so corrupt. They wouldn't want to tell you guys that they are receiving. They need to answer this here, right? I'm just putting it out. They just need to answer it. Whether they are receiving millions upon millions of US dollars to accept Venezuelan refugees. Whether, and this is what Irfan Ali, and I hope one of the reporters out in Guyana would ask this question to Irfan Ali or the guy who sits in the back, Jack Diel, whether they are receiving, or even call Utah, the Minister of Foreign Affairs, call Utah and ask whether they are receiving millions of US dollars to accept Venezuelan refugees in Guyana. So they come by the boatloads. There will be that boatload that you saw the other day is just one of many. It's not an isolated case at all. There's so many boatloads of Venezuelans who are entering Guyana. They have already entered Guyana. This is, of course, it's not like Irfan Ali's unaware of that. He knows what's happening. Jack Dale knows what's happening, and they have turned a blind eye on it because they are receiving millions upon millions of US dollars to accept the Venezuelans right now in Guyana. But let us say now, just hypothetically, and maybe it becomes a reality, that boatloads upon boatloads of Haitians go to Guyana. And if our Haitian brothers and sisters are watching this program, we come on, Guyana shouldn't turn them back if they go into Guyana by the boatloads. The Venezuelans are going and they're being accepted, they're being processed, they're being hugged, and you guys go and live, and here's a pocket piece and so forth. The Haitians should do the same, shouldn't the Haitians do the same? And if the Haitians do that, you will see a different reaction by these racist elements in the PPPC installed regime. But the Venezuelans are welcome with open arms. Again, the question is Irfan Ali and Jack Deo and others in the PPP are receiving millions of US dollars to accept the Venezuelans. Is that accurate? But you know what I want to see? I want, by maybe this weekend, I want to see boatloads upon boatloads of Haitians in Guyana. Let them also come. It's an open free-for-all for everybody. If it's good for the Venezuelans, because the protected status is extended in the U.S. for Venezuelan nationals and other nationals and so forth. I believe Haitians who were to be deported, that has been placed on hold. Haitians are no longer being deported at this point in time. So if that's the case, don't be upset when you all start seeing boatloads upon boatloads of Haitians going to Guyana. That would be a nice thing. And in my opinion, that would be a nice thing. And don't be surprised if it happens. And when it does happen, don't be surprised when the racists in Guyana start to discriminate against the Haitians, all because of their not necessarily the color of the skin, but because Jackie and these guys are very, very dark people. Uh, oh my gosh, Miss Washington, you're sitting there. I never even knew that you were there, and I'm misbehaving. Good evening. How are you doing?
Good evening, Mark. I'm doing great. Good evening to all your listeners out there tonight. Good evening, everyone.
Yeah, thank you so much for joining us. As I started right away, I wasted no time. I just got straight into the program. What is your take on the Venezuelan nationals that are being accepted in their thousands in Guyana? I'm told that the regime of Guyana is receiving millions upon millions of US dollars to accept them. What is your take on this non-vetting of these individuals in Guyana?
I think it has something to do with our elections and control in our country, because the more we accept foreigners without putting them through the proper immigration process, and every country I know has proper procedure for admitting or allowing aliens to enter their country. And given the history between Guyana and Venezuela, it's shocking that the government would allow Venezuelans to come to Guyana and just accept them without vetting them, without ensuring that the proper procedure is done in terms of them being qualified to just come into our country. I think it has a lot to do with the government setting the stage to create a voters list with people who are not even qualified to vote in Guyana. That's how I believe that is happening now, because the face of Guyanese is going to change for all Guyanese. So if Indo-Guyanese are going to say, okay, we're going to sit down and support the president or support the regime and not stand with their other fellow Guyanese, I think it's going to be a tragedy, because what's going to happen, all those people are going to come, and then the demographics of Guyana, number one, is going to start changing rapidly. And number two, the problem with the voters list, some of those names of people who are not legally resident in Guyana, neither a citizen of Guyana, their names might end up on the voters list. And I think this is a way to keep the control over the Guyanese population by controlling the election by all or any means necessary.
Well said. 19 minutes after 9 o'clock. My name is Mark Benchop. Welcome to Straight Up. Miss Washington is with us this evening, attorney at law. We're talking, first of all, about the thousands of Venezuelan nationals who are in Guyana. And the regime, the PPP corrupt regime, is receiving millions of US dollars for them. Receiving millions of US dollars and just probably handing out pittance to these nationals and just loose them to go wherever they have to go, and that's it. No proper vetting or so forth. But what if the Haitians were leaving Haiti in their numbers, boatloads of them into Guyana? Do you think that this corrupt, it's kind of like a silly question, but I'll ask you anyways. Do you think the corrupt, racist PPP regime will accept the Haitians with open arms?
That the question speaks or answers itself, as you already said. Haitians, they would never accept Haitians in Guyana. One of the things the PPP, or even those who control the real power behind the economy in Guyana, which is not Guyanese, by the way, in case people don't know, the real power behind our economy. And they just want to keep the demographics looking a certain way. So when you see Africans or people of African descent try to enter into Guyana, they're going to try to give them a hard time, because one of the things, they don't want them to come there and then increase the Afro-Guyanese population. And therefore, when the election comes around, they know that the votes are going to be more powerful is going to be overweight on one side versus the next based on the demographics of the population. So I think it's not going to happen. They're never going to allow Haitians to enter Ghana as freely as they're allowing these Venezuelans to just come and enter our country. And given the history behind Venezuela and Guyana, the government of Ghana are simply not very well educated or very well schooled, because they're essentially opening that door for that land that we've been fighting over for centuries. They're opening that door for that issue to become a non-issue anymore, because the minute we have so many Venezuelans coming to Guyana, chances are they'll occupy that land, and eventually Guyana will become erased from that portion of land that is in dispute. So I don't understand the logics and how the people of Guyana, the government in particular, is thinking to allow something like that. The real people they should allow to enter Guyana is Haitians, and I don't know why people generally have a problem with these people of African descendants. Is disrespectful. We've been disrespected for too long. And I think this needs to change swiftly. And I believe if the revolution that is happening in Africa should take a full toll, and whatever they're trying to accomplish, which is get rid of colonialism or the effects of it thereof, I think if they succeed, then we as a people will succeed generally, and it will be like a domino effect. And then maybe the Africans in Guyana are going to rise up and recognize that we are being oppressed and we have to fight back. Because I've already told people multiple times, God will not come from his throne in heaven and do something that he's already enabled us as a people to do. We have got to stand up for our own rights. We have got to fight back.
We've got to do that indeed. 22 minutes after 9 o'clock. Shellen Washington, attorney at law. If you are now joining us, good evening to all of you, and welcome to Straight Up on 107.1 FM. Miss Washington, I'm looking at the comment here from Aaliyah Waldron, and she's saying here, imagine they accused Haitians of trafficking. What are the crime of the Venezuelans again? Because not so long ago, this corrupt PPP regime accused Haitians of human trafficking. They rounded them up, those guys up, locked them up, all manner of things. But now the Venezuelans are entering Guyana left, right, and center. And for some reason, maybe I'm a CFAR kind of guy, but 20, 30 years down the line, who knows? Maybe Guyana will have a president from Venezuela, because we already have a so-called president from the United States of America. And this leads me to Jennifer Cruikshank's question. How long after someone enters Guyana you can vote? Well, and not so long after, with the corrupt PPP in there, they get fake passports. They go into the Ministry of Home Affairs. They're issued with a Guyana passport, Guyana identification card. So you can enter the country in 1 week and you get all those identification cards and your passport, and you can vote as early as possible. Unlike in the US and other places, you've got to wait. You've got to go through a process. But Guyana is so corrupt under the PPP regime, anything is possible. Your take on the human trafficking that they accuse the Haitians of, but no allegations is being leveled against the Venezuelans.
I think it's unfortunate that the Haitians are not in a position to sue the government of Guyana for defamation, because I think that is ridiculous. This highlights what we've been speaking about. We come here repeatedly and we try to, educate the country, educate Guyanese as a whole, that the PPP regime is really very racist. They are not concerned about, they put a facade, and they might do a few things here and there to try to get the people to believe like, hey, we're really working for you, but they're really not. Because if you look at the facts, look at the statistics, and you'll see the method or the type of policies that the PPP have when it comes to people of African descent, because they made a defamatory statement regarding the Haitians and human trafficking. Venezuela is known. I could list a slew of offenses Venezuelans are known for, but he's not going to come out and call them out for that. Plus, the Venezuelans, their moral values values. They're corrupting our country in Guyana. There's a lot of things going on in Guyana that when I was there didn't happen. But if you go to Georgetown now, you see a lot of things. Prostitution even more prevalent in Guyana. Stripping, strip clubs. The Venezuelans are full in the strip clubs in Guyana. There's a lot of things I can talk about that President Ali, could be pointing out, but he doesn't concern himself with the truthfulness of the situation. What he's concerned with is keeping people of Afro descent away from Guyana versus being equal or treating people with equality. The government is not concerned about equality. They're more concerned about keeping dark-skinned people
corruption.
with curly hair out of Guyana. That's what their concern is. Nothing else.
And I just want to just say that there are lots and lots of good Venezuelans. I know some folks who are from Venezuela. They've been living in Guyana for quite a long time now, and they're hardworking people as well. Not all of them go out into the strip clubs and so forth and prostitute themselves.
Mark, we're not talking about
many years ago under quarantine, I know there's a place, Port Morant, not far from there, called Portuguese Quarters. And the older guys, we as younger guys used to hear the older guys going to Portuguese Quarters. Those of you who are from the quarantine would know exactly what happens at Portuguese Quarters. And they were just basically Guyanese and maybe Surinamese young ladies. And then also we don't like when people accuse our young ladies of these sort of things in Barbados, Fraser Street, and so forth. And then you go to Trinidad and Tobago, to Port of Spain, Frederick Street, and so forth. They like to accuse our people, our young ladies, of the very same thing, even though maybe some instances you never know. But the bulk of our people are hardworking people. And just like I would say that they are hardworking Venezuelans as well, we're not anti-immigrants, but it must be, and I agree with you, there's got to be a proper process and proper structure. And you cannot discriminate against one. Allow the Venezuelans in and chase the Haitians out.
Yeah, there have to be a balance, Mark. And there's no balance. There's no proper immigration policies that we have in place that will say, well, okay, you can only enter our country for X amount of time, and then you have to go. And like you said, the immigration process is very, very corrupt. So people could enter from Venezuela, and you see them voting on the voters list next year. They might be speaking a different language and trying to vote. They might not even be speaking English. And I think that's why they're pushing so hard that we must, because, Portuguese is closely related to Spanish. A lot of these language, the words interchange. So if you know one, it's likely you'll be able to communicate to some limited extent in the other language. I think that's why the government is pushing so hard that we must put Spanish writing on the police cars and Spanish in certain places and Spanish in schools. I think they're short-sighted. They're very, very short-sighted, because even Indo-Guyanese are going to be eliminated after a while. The demographics of Guyana is going to change. Soon you're going to start seeing, you're not going to see Afro and Indo-Guyanese anymore. And I think what the Venezuelans are doing is very strategic in that they're infiltrating the country. And the same dispute that we have ongoing for such a long time, eventually Venezuela's name is going to be written all over that piece of land. The government of Guyana they're very short-sighted. They don't think very logical. They lack the moral and common sense to preserve our country and our culture for what it is. I'm not anti-immigrant, but if you continue to allow mass immigration into the country without proper checks and balances and ensuring that those people who come, they have a time in which they must leave. If they don't leave, they must have work permit. These are ways to track immigrants or track aliens in your country. And if you don't issue work permit, you don't give a limited time to which people will stay. You don't do any of those things. You just allow them to come, they stay freely, and they move around, they seek employment. Eventually, what do you think is going to happen? I think the people in our administration are not very wise or very prudent. They take and they do things that they don't see farther up the road. They don't see farther than their noses. So the demographics is going to change.
It is going to change indeed, and at the end of the day, you are correct. They have a very short-sighted individuals in this installed regime. They're not patriotic. They're just a bunch of corrupt goons who are there masquerading themselves as government officials. And it's time that the people open their eyes to see this corrupt regime for exactly who they are. Here is a video of a recent incident there with some Venezuelans entering Guyana. This was well orchestrated, well organized, of course. Their relatives were there waiting for them. It's as though it's a boat landing, and you're familiar with boat landing coming from Linden, Dutchy boat landing, Adams boat landing, and so forth and so on. That's no Dutchy or Adams boat landing. That's right out there, closer to the city, right there. Their relatives were informed. They say, hey, mira, we're coming through. They all lined up. They welcomed their folks, them. The police collected them, not arrested them. Just took them into the police station. They got a phone call. They had to let all of those people go. They would not have done that to the Africans, somebody coming from Nigeria, Kenya, or Ghana, or even from Haiti. They wouldn't do that. Even the Jamaicans are getting a rough time with this, even with the free CARICOM movements and so forth. And Haiti is supposed to be part of CARICOM, but yet they're being ejected out of the country. I don't know. Your take on that piece of video? You saw all the Venezuelans coming off there.
It's crazy. I don't know any. It's very strategic though, because you've seen the push for Spanish. I think the administration must have sold Guyana out secretly, and we don't know. Because why are they pushing so hard for Spanish? Spanish is being taught in our schools now. Usually, it's like I said before, it's the other way around. Like if you're going to someone's country and you don't speak their language, you have to put yourself in a position to learn that country's language so that you could communicate while you're there. Venezuela is a Spanish-speaking country. So I think this is all orchestrated. It was well planned out. You're pushing for Spanish in school. Then you have the Venezuelans are allowed to cross our borders freely. No checks, no balances, no immigration process, none of that. I believe Jagdeo must have sold our country out, and we don't know. We're the ones who are sailing in the loop. We're the ones who sit there in ignorance, because look at the facts. Why are the Venezuelans allowed to cross the border freely? Any country you go to, you must go through a process, which is called whatever the country's immigration laws are. You have to go through those checks and balances. You must have passport. You must have your ID with you. You cannot enter anybody's country without showing proof of who you are. They have to record. You have a record of who you are, your name, your age, your date of birth, all that information, so that they can track you. They can know if you remain in their country unauthorized. They can know if you obtain employment in their country. This is just going to kill for all those Guyanese people who are there. Their jobs are going to start going. They're going to start feeling the effect very shortly. And I hope the Indo-Guyanese are looking too, because when certain jobs start going by, you see all those Spanish people that Barra Jagdeo is forcing you Guyanese people to learn their language, then you're going to start waking up and realize what the strategy was the entire time. He's enforcing Spanish on the school, enforcing Spanish in certain areas, wants the police car to bear the name in Spanish. And then now he's allowing the Venezuelans to cross the border without going through any immigration process. Doesn't that tell you that Guyana is part of Venezuela? If you need any other proof to demonstrate that Guyana is Venezuela now, then you're blindsided, because no country in the world is anyone allowed to cross the border without going through an immigration process, even in the times of war. As you can see, what happened to those Africans who were in Ukraine, they tried to go over to Poland. They were running to safety. The Polish people put all of them sort of imprisoned them until they could have proved who they were, get information about their identity and about where they're going, even though they weren't staying in Poland. But no, Guyanese, this administration is allowing the Venezuelans to come You don't need an ID. You don't need a passport. You don't need anything. We don't care who you are. Just come. This is Venezuela. Barjad, you've sold Guyana out. Look at the facts.
Absolutely. Bara Jagdev and Irfan Ali should be rounded up and charged with treason. They're unpatriotic. But yet, when we heard the other day that Maduro just upping his ante about his claims of the Essequibo, Irfan Ali suddenly wants to talk to opposition leader Aubrey Norton. He suddenly wants people to be so patriotic. People are already patriotic. The only unpatriotic ones are Irfan Ali, Barrett Jagdeer, and the goons within the PPP. They are unpatriotic, and this doesn't mean all the PPP supporters are unpatriotic. I'm not saying that, but these guys, Irfan Ali, Barrett Jagdeer, and all the goons in the PPP hierarchy are a bunch of unpatriotic, corrupt, racist bunch. That's who they are. If you're now joining us, my name is, if you're now joining us, me llamo Mark Benja, buenas noches. Guyanese to gusto trabajar, or Venezuela amigos are in the country right now. And we are seeing, of course, the corrupt regime is not going through any vetting process. I stand corrected. Somebody reminded me that a bunch of the guys who may have frequented Nelson Street in Barbados is a stone throw away from the market, around the market side there. Nelson Street, I know Nelson Street very well. Not in that sense, but I know Nelson Street. I was once in Nelson Street, and a young lady from Guyana said, "Mark, you don't know me?" I'm like, "Okay, we're on Nelson Street." "No, I don't know you." 37 minutes after 9 o'clock, we'll take a quick break while Miss Washington fade away that smile in her face whenever Nelson Street is mentioned. We'll be right back with more of Straight Up.
So, this is attorney Shellen Washington, owner and founder of the Washington Law Firm, located at 455 Utica Avenue in Brooklyn, New York. We're specialized in medical malpractice, personal injuries, matrimonial law, and landlord and tenant. If you're in need of legal representation, please give us a call today. The number to call is 718-877-3100. Consultation is free at no cost to you. So call us today to see if we can be of any assistance to your legal needs. Again, the phone number to call us is 718-877-3100.
Sheldon Washington's law firm, any legal matters you may have, divorce, landlord, tenant, whatever it is, malpractice, Sheldon Washington is there for you guys. Welcome back to Straight Up. We want to move away from the Venezuelan stuff for a quick moment. But before we do, let's head back to this video here and you'll see exactly what we're talking about. This is not about propaganda. This is in Georgetown. Scores and scores of Venezuelans are entering Guyana illegally. And this is just one of maybe many dozens of incidents happening almost on a daily basis right now. The regime of Guyana is receiving millions upon millions of US dollars to accept these Venezuelans. That's what's happening in Guyana. The government, or the illegal government, is receiving millions upon millions of US dollars for that. And let me just remind the listeners that they are receiving millions of dollars for the deportees who are, of course, have been sent back from the US or from Canada. The corrupt regime of Guyana is receiving monies to assist those individuals. They have not been doing that. But let's move away for some good news at this point in time. Canada MPs elect first Black House Commons Speaker. Congratulations to Greg Fergus. And it's a good move. It's a good sign, and it's good news. So that's what it is for now for the good news side as we head back to Guyana. Not so good news for these people who have been shelling things out for a while. We're hearing now Shell Mohammed, that's Azardine Mohammed and his dad. That's their business, so to speak. This is the headline. Shell pulls out of Reed & Hoop shore base, cites religious beliefs. Now, this is laughable, and here's why it's laughable, Miss Washington. First of all, they got into the deal, and then they were exposed. They were exposed not by anybody there in Guyana. They were exposed by Reuters says, hey, U.S. probing Exxon contractor in Guyana for smuggling drugs and gold. Again, I repeat, according to Reuters, Azruddin Mohammed and his father, Shell Mohammed, according to Reuters' special report, U.S. probing Exxon contractor in Guyana for smuggling drugs and gold. And then we are now hearing that they have pulled out from the shore base and they're citing religious beliefs. What the heck is happening here? Didn't they know that when they first got into the business, they didn't believe in religion then? Miss Washington, you're laughing. So am I. But you take the first shot at this.
Well, they had to put a facade to put something to tell the public as to why they're pulling out. Because obviously the public have information, which was published by the Reuters, and it was in the media. So now that things went south, Exxon realized that they're in bad company, and that's bad for their business. So they had to find a way to tell these people, hey, we have to sever ties with you. So Exxon doesn't want to say, just terminate the contract and then this gets public. So usually what happens, the diplomatic move is to speak to your business partner and say, well, hey, this is not good publicity for us. So you need to pull out and cite some sort of reason. And people need to understand this was something that was brewing a long time ago. Exxon knew it had to terminate this relationship because now it was being published in the news. People were talking about it, and this is bad for Exxon's business. So Azzuddin Mohammed and his father had no other option, and it has nothing to do with religion. If anyone believes Azzuddin Mohammed really observes any religion, I wonder which God Azzuddin Mohammed serves, because the business him and his father is engaged in and the things that they're doing, I'm frankly shocked to hear them mention anything about religion. What religion do they observe? I would like to know. Let them tell the public. Are they Muslim? I do not know, because the type of business they're engaging in is not the typical business people who have a belief in any God would get involved in. So I would like to know. So this is just a facade. For those of you who sit there wondering, thinking, okay, they finally found some. No, it's a facade. That's not the real reason. The real reason is the image that they're creating for ExxonMobil. It's bad for ExxonMobil's business. And now they recognize and they have to pull out from the relationship. They have to terminate. So this is why. So now they're citing religious belief. That is cap. You guys should know that.
Absolutely, it is. And because of religious belief, I must say that we are not allowed to go after 10 tonight. So that's just because of religion. We're not allowed to go until 10 tonight. But it's laughable, though, Miss Washington and all our listeners. These guys, who are they fooling? Religious beliefs? Give us a break. When they got almost $1 billion to build a fire station headquarters, they didn't cite religious beliefs. When they were supposedly wanted for the questioning of paper shards, they didn't cite religious beliefs. And now all of this here suddenly, oops, look at that gun there. There's not religious beliefs and all manner of things. Who the heck are they fooling? Not us, not the big sensible Guyanese people. Moving away from those people for at least now, let's head to State House. I'm sure you remember where State House is, Miss Washington. I know you're from Linden, and people from Linden hardly go to Georgetown, only when they got to go market or. All right, let's. You guys from Linden know I'm just pulling your legs. But look, this is in front of State House, the People's House, that is. This is where the illegal president is currently at. And guess what they're doing? This fire truck, with this fire engine. They are watering grass. They are watering plants out there in front of State House. I've never seen this before. How do you see this, Miss Washington? State House being reduced to this sort of I don't know, Nimakaram, Katahar kind of lifestyle. Your take, please.
Mark is laughable, but before I even say that, I'm just going to tell you the people of Linden is not going to hold your statement against you the way Guyanese held Major Hype's statement against him. We forgive
Okay,
you.
well,
We're
well,
forgiving.
well, one second. You're trying to set me up with the Linden people. Let
No,
me
we're
just
forgiving people. No, 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 no. They're
no,
not.
let me make it clear. Let me make it clear because Trump and these guys asked for Obama's birth certificate. I have mine, right here. Lindener, so I can poke fun at my Mati Lindener, as we say. And speaking of Lindener, hey, we can make fun of them even if these are three mice.
Yeah, this is the elite team, the root team, strong team.
The three black guys
Miss Washington, your take again. Your take on
on the
this.
water truck,
Yeah.
truck that they're using to water the lawn. It's so laughable because we us living in countries that they consider developed countries. These countries has a sprinkler system, so that the system, it's turned off and turned on, or it's set to come on automatically and turn itself off automatically. But on the other hand, these folks in Guyana, with nothing else to do, cannot think about installing a sprinkler system to keep the grass green at the state house in Guyana. This is shameful. It's laughable. Instead, they have to bring a big water truck that is using gas, waste of taxpayers' money, to come there just to water the land when there's more efficient methods that could be used for this. What is wrong with the people in Guyana? Are they asleep? What times are they living in? Do they know that there's something called advancement, development? There's more advanced methods and ways and more efficient, cost-efficient ways of doing things. I'm not sure I can understand the way Guyanese think, the administration in particular, not my people, because I love my Guyanese people, but the administration, the PPP administration, what is going through their thought process? I'm not sure. Every time I think about the PPP, I just really want to laugh because I'm like, what type of people do we have there in the administration running the country? They use the most draconian methods to get things done, wasting money, wasting resources for no reason, while the people are starving. They're not taking the money and put it to good use to feed the people, like food programs, implement programs, take that money and implement programs to keep the homeless fed, like provide shelter, like do these things that is much more cost effective and more important to your economy prospering. But you're going to waste resources on something that it could be easily done with a sprinkler system.
Or
Not a truck,
and you are absolutely correct. 48 minutes after 9 o'clock. If you're now joining us, good evening to all of you. Straight up with Shellon Washington this evening. We've heard stories that how ridiculous those folks in the occupants at State House, especially Air Finale, standing up on the stairs at the back and at the side, urinating on the lawn. We've heard stories about his visitors, his guests, and whoever they are, just urinating on the lawns. And it's a filthy house right now. Reminds me of that very house that those guys used to talk about that they visited at Portuguese Quarters way back in the days there. That's what State House has become. Very, very filthy, especially with Air Finale there. It was worse on the Jack Deere for very, very obvious reasons why. Miss Washington, even as this is happening at State House, you cannot see this fire engine, this fire truck here in Charlestown. Look at what's happened. Look at what has happened today. Fire engine turned up, hardly had water. Some of them had no water or nothing at all. But look at what we're seeing here. Look at what it's being used for. Miss Washington, how does this make you feel? Looking into Guyana and seeing how these corrupt individuals in the PPP are governing that country?
I mean, this is very upsetting. People should be upset. They should be mad. They should be angry at the administration. They're wasting taxpayers' money and using our resources for the wrong things when the fire truck should be used to extinguish the fire. That's where it should have been. It should have had sufficient water to be able to put the fire out. I this administration, it gives one a lot to think about. It makes us wonder, are these people using their brain? What are they thinking with? Who is thinking for them? Are they even doing their job? First of all, what are they doing when they're sitting in the offices? Are they just playing dominoes or chess or cards, or or they're maybe going to Bam Bam Alley or something? Because I'm lost for words as to why, like, some basic things we cannot do because of the lack of the proper resources, proper funding, or we misuse resources for the wrong thing and not use it towards the right thing. Because you have the fire truck going to State House to water the lawn, and then you have a fire that needs the same fire truck, the same water to extinguish a fire, and there's no water or insufficient water. We need to rethink our entire system. We need to rethink who we're going to allow. And I say allow because the people of Guyana has to allow that person to sit in office, to allow this type of slackness to take place. This is gross negligence on the part of the government of Guyana, not to ensure funding is properly used effectively. Our firefighters are not properly trained. There's not enough water in the engines. The engines need to be maintained in a particular way. There's procedures, there's measures that could be taken to avoid situations like this. But instead of this, they're taking the resources and wasting it. Wasteful dissipation of state assets. That's what this is. And there should be some method to use to recover all the money that the government is stealing right now. I know they had some sort of recovery, state asset recovery program while on the
it's called SARA, State Asset Recovery Agency. They haven't for all those years they've been there, they haven't recovered anything. For the most part,
can't use it because they need to recover it from themselves. They're not going to use it, Mark.
It was basically people who weren't even trained to be investigators. They recovered nothing, but that's another story. 52 minutes after 9 o'clock. My name is Mark Benchap. Shellon Washington, attorney at law, is with me this evening. There are just maybe a few things more that I wish to talk about before we pull the curtains down. We're still talking about this $214 million US still missing. Jagdeo and Irfan, they probably stole the money. Where is this money? It's the taxpayers' money. Do you, Miss Washington, know the amount of fire trucks that Guyana can purchase, taxpayers' money, so that some of these fire engines can go to Linden, they can go to Bartik on the quarantine in Georgetown and so forth. Instead, they have a bunch of outdated stuff. It look a small water tank, and the water tank, the purpose of the water is to spray Irfan Ali and Jagdeo's property. Spray them. They seem to love those sort of things. So they call the big fire truck to spray them up. And this is what happens. The people suffer. All the people of the country suffer, regardless of their ethnicity, regardless of whether they, whatever religion they're part of, they suffer every single day. Miss Washington, I don't know if your friends and your colleagues and your relatives will tell you this, especially those who are in Georgetown and other parts. Every single day they experience about 5, 6, 7, 8 hours of blackout, and they expect the country to be developed like that. Miss Washington?
I've been seeing people are posting videos online regarding the frequency of the power outage in Guyana. And I would think by now, there's like different ways. There's solar energy now. The United States, that's the thing, Mark. We have all the money that is going missing from ExxonMobil. And the thing is, if we were able to even get half of it, I mean, just half of it, Mark, but look what it's boiled down to. From $214 million to a mere tiny, not even 1%, but the $3 million. Imagine if we had gotten half of this, we could put it to harvest solar energy. We could start purchasing solar panel. We live in a climate country. The temperature is tropical country. It's always hot there. So imagine if we switched over to solar panels instead of using oil that they use right now for to harvest electricity in Ghana. We should switch over. If we decided to make a switch, we would have an unlimited supply of electricity. No one would be in power outage, because you know why, Mark? The sun is 24/7 in Ghana. We live close to the equator. Even in the rainy season, there's sun. So we would not lack if they would just take a fraction of that money rather than enter into bad transactions with Exxon. It's like the arrangement between Guyana and Exxon Mobil is like you have a 60-year-old expert in oil and gas contract dealing with a 2-year-old. Guyana's like a 2-year-old child when it comes to oil and gas contracts. They have no experience. And the people that they were given to help them is people who are connected to ExxonMobil. So it's like you have a grave disadvantage between the people who are negotiating on behalf of Ghana and ExxonMobil. ExxonMobil have been doing this for a very, very long time, and they have expert in these types of contracts. Ghana is no match. Ghana is no match.
One of the things I want to ask you, Ms. Washington, you being the lawyer, and Jagdeo has admitted that something has gone wrong with this money. Irfan Ali has admitted that something has gone wrong with this money. They're pretending they don't know where it is. Obviously, it's a criminal act. Can private charges be brought against those who are responsible so that we can bring them to the court, bring them in front of the court for them to answer about what has happened with this money? Private criminal charges, please.
You see, the thing is, the immunity business that operates when you're holding certain offices, certain laws prohibit anyone, the citizens.
There's no immunity for the guy who is the minister, so-called Minister of Natural Resources.
Right, no, but even so, Mark, the Minister of Natural Resources, you would have to have some sort of standing to bring an action against him, and you would have to.
They stole the money, they thieved the money. It's missing. Even Jagdeo has admitted that he wants to know what has happened, who has ordered them. So let's get the private charges going.
Jagdeo is not interested, because you know what? If he was interested, he has the Attorney General there. Plus, you have the DPP could investigate. He's not interested, because the DPP by itself is an extension of the arm of the government of Ghana. Right? The DPP,
as you would know, the DPP is not there to investigate corruption.
No, they're not going to investigate. They don't care. Mark, you have GRA, first of all. If GRA did an audit or something to determine that this is the amount of money that should have been given to Ghana, and then it was reduced to $3 million, then you go to the person who's responsible for the accounting and collecting the money from ExxonMobil. And if the ministry is responsible, you go to that particular arm of the government, the ministry, and deal of natural resources, and deal with it on that level. But the person with the right to investigate these kind of situations, you have the Attorney General. He advises the president, and he can tell the president that, look, this needs to be investigated. We need to file criminal charges against the minister. If
they do have an agency. We can't expect them to do that, but we do have an agency. Then again, we can't expect SOCU, which is the Special Organized Crime Unit, to do this investigation. It's stealing of and I see Bantu King has mentioned that. Not KANU, but SOCU should be investigating this. And if SOCU doesn't want to do that, we can depend on the Attorney General to do that. But here is where, and some people might start getting a little angry. I know how some of them are, but here is where I blame the opposition. Why do I blame the opposition? The opposition should have been more forceful on this. People should have been protesting in front of the Ministry of Natural Resources. They should have been in front of GRA. These people must be held accountable. Where is the money? We want to know where the money is. And that's just my take. Where is the money?
You see, you're going to have to go back to the State Recovery Act to recover that, because it's state asset. The money belongs to the people of Guyana. So the means and the methods of getting it back, you'll have to turn back to that same act that President Granger implemented.
Miss Washington, I may probably have to, sorry ma'am, I may have to ask you if you wish to represent me. I'll find the money and I'll try to pay your law firm to file private criminal charges against those corrupt individuals. I want to know where the 314 million US dollars gone to. I want to know where it is. We've got to challenge them. If we don't challenge, let us challenge them and let them put their hands up in immunity. Let them do it, but they must be challenged. I'm not saying
I
that I'm going to
agree.
hire them.
I
Those guys,
agree.
the lawyers in the opposition, they need to act. Take these guys to the court, drag them in front of the court every single day. That's where they should be.
I
Washington,
agree. If
you're-
state funds is missing, the money belongs to the people of Ghana and it's missing. So
It
there
is.
should be a way, somebody should ask that it be investigated and the money be returned.
You know,
It needs to
they
be
got,
returned.
they got something before we go. I will ask you for your closing remarks. I know you're also a pastor, and please do forgive me. But we want to find out if Soku is not going to find out. The lawyers in the opposition, I don't know what they're doing. They need to be aggressive on these issues. But before we go, I don't know if you recall as a little girl, they had Baizan Peter, Baizan Paul. You heard of that in Linden?
I think so.
Yeah, good. So Bison Peter, Bison Paul. Chelan took the 314 million US dollars. Bison Peter, Bison Paul. Asquith Scholes took the 314 million US dollars. Bison Peter, Bison Paul, Bernadette James took the 314 million US. Bison
No,
Peter, Bison Paul, did Wayne Caesar or Gavin Caesar took it? Bison
No.
Peter, Bison Paul, Jack Day took it?
Jagdeo took the
Everyone
money.
took it? We already know.
Everyone took the money.
They-
They
they-
know where that money is.
They
They
know
can
where.
account for that money, but they're lying to the people of Ghana,
Corrupt.
and they need to be prosecuted for grand larceny. That's grand larceny.
Absolutely. Miss Washington, thank you so much. Your closing remarks, please, ma'am.
Thank you so much, Mark. It's always a pleasure to be here. It's always so interesting and educational. And, you know, guys, we learn from YouTube because I read some of the comments and some of the comments are very informative. So I want to thank each and every one of you for staying here with us. And thanks for your comments, some of you. And I want to give a shout out to Mark Garnett. I promised I was going to give a shout out. I hope he's watching tonight. He says he watches the show every single night. So, you know, I want to say thank you guys so much. I'm really grateful for all your support, especially when it comes to my office. I'm so thankful for all of you, all the support, all the referrals, guys. I'm grateful. And I do hope that we continue to press, and I do hope we start seeing more changes in Ghana. And I do hope the people of Ghana are learning and their eyes are opening and they're beginning to understand what's happening to our country. It is our rights, it's our duty to protect our country. It's our country. Guyana belongs to us, and we have to protect that country against bad people who goes there and sit in power to corrupt our country, to steal and corrupt the nation and not help the masses. They're not helping the people of Ghana. So guys, I want to encourage you to stay watchful, remain hopeful, and not remaining hopeful by sitting silent, but speaking up. And for those of you in Ghana, go out, protest, do something. Don't just sit idly and be quiet, because nothing happens when you stay quiet. Remember, God help those who help themselves. So let's help ourselves, guys, by ensuring that the next election, the right person gets into power and that there's not a perpetual state of control by one particular party continuously. All right. Thank you so much, everyone, again. Thank you, Mark. It's always a pleasure. And good night to everyone. God bless you guys.
Thank you so much, Miss Washington. God bless you too. And give my regards to members of your staff there at your law firm on Utica Avenue. Thank you so much, ma'am. Appreciate it.
I will. Thank you.
All right, attorney at law, Shalon Washington there for you guys. And my name is Mark Benshop. And thank you all so much. I know you take time out of your busy schedule to be with us, even after a very hectic day at work. And then you have to come and just look at our faces, right? One of the things we try to do is to put that smile on your face. We add a little humor at times because we know how it's like. It's one life that you've got to live. You can't just have a straight face about everything. Serious, there's time and place for everything too, right? But our mantra here is we love to put that smile on your face. One of the things Miss Washington said earlier, I couldn't recall exactly, but I heard the name Bamba Mali mentioned, And immediately I'm like, look, I've just got to say this about Bam Bam Ali. There's nothing wrong with Bam Bam Ali at all. I have gone there so many times. I just enjoy it. You have good conversations there. It's a good business place. People sell their whatever it is that they sell, and it's a business. And people go there. There are Bam Bam Alis all over. They have Bam Bam Ali in Barbados, Bam Bam Ali in Trinidad, Bam Bam Ali in Curacao, Bam Bam Ali in Brooklyn, Bam Bam Ali in Queens. Lots of Bam Bam Alis in Queens. And so nothing is wrong with the Bam Bam Ali at Orange Walk, right? Lots of professional folks go there. They sit down, they talk a little politics, they ease the tension, they ease the stress, and so forth and so on. So I just want to say that when you guys hear, especially those of you who have been living in the US, who have left Guyana 30 odd years ago, 40 years ago, 50 years ago, 60 years ago, and you might be getting this impression that Bam Bam Ali is bad. It's not bad. I love Bam Bam Ali, and I wish I can have a cold beer right now at Bam Bam Ali. And all the Bam Bam Aliites, all of you, every one of you, good evening to you. All right, my name is Mark Benchap. I'll be back tomorrow, same place, same time. Wayne Caesar is going to be back with us tomorrow. And guess what? We have some other things that we want to touch on. But those folks out in Charlestown, those who lost their properties, they lost their belongings and everything, our prayers are with you guys this evening. I'm not sure whether anybody was injured, but if there's anybody who was injured, we wish them a speedy recovery. And I wish to say this here now too, on behalf of all of you Guyanese, shame on the PPP regime. This is what they're using the fire engine to do. Shame on these people. The water, the lawn, water the plants on the lawns of State House. We are being told that Irfan Ali urinates on the lawn. That's what we're being told. But again, we've got to pray for these people who have lost their properties, their personal belongings, and so forth. I don't know, but we've got to pray for Guyana. We've got to pray for Guyana. And to all of you, God bless you. I'll see you back tomorrow, same place, same time, right here on 107.1 FM. If you're celebrating your birth anniversary today, happy birthday. If you're celebrating wedding anniversary, whatever anniversary you're celebrating, whether you get a promotion in the job too, congratulations to you. If you've lost a loved one, condolences. I know there's a young lady on my Facebook page. I knew her from Guyana. GT, I think she starts off with that. Let me see if I get her name here, but maybe I'll do so tomorrow. And somewhere in Georgetown she's from, she passed away. And our condolences again to mention her name tomorrow. But God bless all of you. We've got to pray for the country. We've got to stop with the emotions and the bickering and the bumps raising and the ignoramus. And we just got to think before we talk. Some people who like to belch out politics, you can tell that some of them are not really informed. But then again, it is what it is, right? I've got to go, Mark. For now. See you guys tomorrow, same place, same time. God bless every single one of you. Go out and support these businesses, Linda, and even this business, Exquisite, and all of the businesses, Andrew's Supermarket. Go right out and support them. And don't forget, elections are next year, presidential elections. The biggest thing right now is immigration. Immigration matters. Every day the law changes, right? If you have an immigration matter, you're here, you've overstayed, and you have someone to file for you, whether you got married here, you want an adjustment of status, feel free to give me that call and I'll take care of everything for you, including if you're filing for your citizenship as well. Don't hesitate to call. But for now, my name is Mark Benchap. I've got to get out of here. I've heard the sirens coming, but it's not for me. God bless you. So long.
When I bounce up my gun in Bulari, and I ask her for us to get married, so she